Okay, so I'm just going to start off with kind of like a simple version of Pong, which has really just two paddles and two paddles on left and right with no ball. So let's just add the ball back in here. Cool. And this one here has acceleration, so I'm just going to get rid of that for now. The goal is that I want to have the Pong ball respect the top and bottom walls, but I want it to go off the right and left edges, right? So right now it's actually bouncing off the right and left edges. Also, let me set it up so that get rid of the paddles temporarily. So the behavior is that when, just going to comment. I'll keep the left paddle on there. The behavior is that when it goes off the left and right edge, this is the collision for the left wall, and this is the collision for the right wall. This is when the ball actually bounces off of it, right? So instead of actually doing this collision here, all we have to do is reset the ball to be at the center, right? So which means that we don't actually want to do any of this velocity flipping. What we instead want to do is, off the left and right wall, we just want to set the position of the ball back to the middle. And what the middle is kind of defined as, like, you can take the width divided by 2, and you can take the height divided by 2. And you can choose to just do this for the left and right wall, which means that whenever the ball hits the left or right wall, it actually goes immediately back to the center. So it actually won't collide with the paddle because I removed that. You can see here it's going off the right wall. And that's basically going to count as a point for us in our case. Let me add the behavior so that the going to add some movement so we can have the paddles move out of the way. All right. So the goal is that also that after you've got your paddles moving and the ball gets reset to the middle, that it doesn't actually start moving until you move one of the paddles. Which means that not only do we need to reset the ball to the middle, we also need to set the velocity to 0 in both cases. Now, do you see actually what's happening here is that I have the same exact code in both places. Whenever you're writing code, especially for a game, you want to be looking for opportunities to take code that's duplicated and find ways to remove that duplication, or at least make it so that there's less duplication involved. Because I'm doing the same thing, I'm resetting the ball directly to the middle here, I might want to consider combining these two if statements together so that I don't have to write this code twice. And the easiest way to combine is you can take this condition here, you can stick it up here with an OR so that if either of these are true, you reset the ball. And then you've just gotten rid of a lot of this code. And now you have code that works, you've written once, and will do the same thing no matter if you're on the left or on the right wall. So now when the ball goes off the right side of the wall, it gets put back to the middle and then gets stuck there. And what I asked for in number 2 was that the ball starts moving once you move one of the paddles. Which means I have all this behavior to start moving the ball again. And what I actually want to do is have the ball start moving again. And just to start, I could just set the velocity whenever I move the paddles here. So this is wherever I'm moving the paddles, I'm just going to have the ball always be moving to the right whenever I move the paddles. So these 4 places here is going to be set up so that it starts moving the ball in that direction. The problem is that every time I move the paddle, it resets the ball velocity this way, right? So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say, hey, whenever a keyboard key is pressed and the ball isn't currently moving, that's when I want to actually reset the velocity back to what it was moving before. The way I want to do that is actually I want to track, did I press any keys at all? So if I just make a variable here, I'm going to say pressed key, I'm going to set it equal to false by default, which means that I haven't pressed a key yet. And here I'm going to set this to true, just to track that I pressed a key. So in all 4 of these cases I pressed a key. I can set up an if statement that says if I pressed a key and my velocity.x is equal to 0 and my velocity.y is equal to 0, then I can reset my velocity like so. So now with all these conditions like this, now the ball will only start moving. If I'm moving up and down, it doesn't change the velocity of the ball. But if the ball gets reset and then I start moving, now the ball starts moving as long as it hasn't been moving already. Which means this if condition here is controlling whether I move the ball or not, based on whether it's currently moving here. So if the velocity of x is 0 and the velocity of y is 0, then I can reset it here. Also, if you want to, you can track whether it's the left player or the right player to choose what direction to go, or you can make this thing random, the direction that it goes. You can have it randomly go up and to the left or up and to the right. If you want to do that, all you do is you're going to need a way to have random numbers, so we can add this, and we can add time, just like what we do for rolling dice. You can seed our randomizer. And then down here, I want it to move 200 by 200 by default. If I roll a dice, module 2, and it's equal to 0, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my velocity.x and multiply by -1. I'm going to do the same thing. I roll another die. This is just a coin flip here. This is literally just me flipping a coin. And half the time I'm just going to flip the velocity this way. By doing it this way, this means that every time I push the paddle, it'll try to move it to 200 by 200. Sometimes, though, it'll move it by -200. So see how it moved to the left there? Left and up. And now it moved up and right. And now it moved down and right. So by doing a coin flip and like half the time flipping the direction that it goes, you can make it go in one of 4 different directions diagonally. All right? Questions? Okay.